Hello everyone. Today our topic of discussion is on pollution. Think about future generations and reduce pollution. That is very important. So in this lecture, we will deal with different types of pollution and what kind of impact they're having on environment, wildlife and human health. So to start with, what is pollution? So pollution is basically introduction of contaminants into the natural environment which exists around us that cause adverse changes in the environment. So pollution can take the form of chemical substances or energy. It could be noise, heat or light. Pollutants. The components of pollution are known as pollutants. They can either be any foreign substances or naturally occurring contaminants. Pollution is often classed as point source or non-point source pollution. We will discuss that in detail also. Just for example, air pollution. It has always accompanied civilizations. Pollution started from prehistoric times when man created the first fire. According to a 1983 article in the journal Science, soot found on ceilings of prehistoric caves provides ample evidences of the high levels of pollution that was associated with inadequate ventilation of open fires. Even metal forging appears to be a key turning point in the creation of significant air pollution levels outside the home. Core samples of glaciers in Greenland indicate increases in pollution associated with Greek, Roman and Chinese metal production also. So when we talk about pollution, it does not denote that it has recently started. So from the examples I have given you, it shows that pollution started from the prehistoric times. So there are different forms of pollution also. We will discuss about air pollution, light pollution, about littering we have discussed in our last lecture, noise pollution, plastic pollution, soil contamination, radioactive contamination, thermal pollution, visual pollution and water pollution. Now coming to non-point source pollution. So as I told you, two broad classification, point source pollution and non-point source pollution. Non-point source pollution is pollution that results from many diffused resources or sources in direct contrast to point source solution which results from a single source. So this is the difference between the two. So non-point source pollution generally results from land runoff, precipitation, atmospheric deposition, drainage, seepage or hydrological modification also. That could be rainfall or snow melt, where tracing pollution back to a single source is very difficult. Non-point source water pollution affects water body from sources such as polluted runoff from agricultural areas, drainage into a river or wind-borne debris blowing out to sea. Then non-point source air pollution affects air quality from sources such as smokestacks or car tailpipes. Although these pollutants have originated from a point source, the long range transport ability and multiple sources of pollutant make it a non-point source of pollution. So non-point source pollution can be contrasted with point source pollution that we will discuss in our next slide. Non-point source pollution may derive from many different sources with no specific solution, and it may change to rectify the problem, making it difficult to regulate also. Non-point source water pollution is difficult to control because it comes from the everyday activities of many different people, such as there is lawn fertilization, people are applying pesticides, there is road construction going on or even the building construction also. So it is the leading cause of water pollution in United States today, with polluted runoff from agricultural and hydro modification the primary sources. Now we will discuss about point source pollution. A point source pollution is a single identifiable source of air, water, thermal noise or light pollution. A point source has negligible extent, distinguishing it from other pollution source geometries. For example, other point that we have discussed, non-point source. The sources are called point sources because in mathematical modeling they can be approximated as a mathematical point to simplify the analysis also. A point source of pollution is single identifiable resource of various reasons that are responsible for pollution. It could be air, it could be water pollution, thermal noise, or etc. A point source has negligible extent. So, for example, if we talk about air pollution from industrial source rather than an airport or road considered a line source, or a forest fire which is considered an area source or volume source. So, if we are talking about industrial source, it is a point source solution. Then if we talk from water pollution from factories, power plants, municipal sewage treatment plants and some farms. For example, the US Clean Water Act also defines municipal separate storm sewer system and industrial stormwater discharges as the point sources. If we talk about noise pollution, then jet engine could be a point source. Disruptive seismic vibration from a localized seismic study. Then if we talk from light pollution, then street light is the point source. Radio emissions from an interference producing electrical device. So this is what is about point source pollution. Now we will talk about air pollution. Air pollution occurs when harmful or excessive quantities of substances, including the gases, particles, and biological molecules, are introduced into Earth's atmosphere. It may cause diseases, allergies, and even death to humans. It may also cause harm to other living organisms such as animals and food crops, and may damage natural or built environment. So both the human activity and the natural processes can generate air pollution. See, air pollution occurs when harmful or excessive quantities of substances, including the gases, the particles, and biological molecules, are introduced into Earth's atmosphere. It may cause diseases, allergies, or even death to the humans. Then there is indoor air pollution also. Indoor air pollution and poor urban air quality are listed as two of the world's worst toxic pollution problems in 2008. According to the 2014 World Health Organization report, air pollution in 2012 caused the deaths of around 7 million people around the world, an estimate roughly echoed by one of the International Energy Agency also. So here, because this is very important type of pollution, we will talk about the pollutants also. Specifically the air pollutant. An air pollutant is a material in the air that can have adverse effects on humans and the ecosystem. The substance can be solid particles, liquid droplets, or gases. A pollutant can be of natural origin, or it could be from an anthropogenic source also, that is man-made. Pollutants are classified as the primary pollutants and the secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants are usually produced by processes such as ash from volcanic eruption, and other examples could be carbon monoxide from motor vehicle exhaust, or sulfur dioxide released from the factories. Now talking about the secondary pollutants, they are not emitted directly, rather they form in the air when primary pollutants react or interact. For example, ground level ozone is a prominent example of secondary pollutants. Some pollutants may be both primary and secondary. They are both emitted directly and formed from other primary pollutants. Here we will talk about the substances which are emitted by human activity. These include carbon dioxide. See, carbon dioxide, because of its role as a greenhouse gas, it has been described as the leading pollutant and the worst climate pollution. Carbon dioxide is a natural component of the atmosphere, essentially for plant life, and given off by human respiratory system also. This question of terminology has practical effects, of example as determining whether as I told you, US Clean Air Act is deemed to regulate carbon dioxide emissions currently. So they are already regulating it. Then there are sulfur oxides. Particularly sulfur dioxide is a chemical compound with the formula SO 2. SO2 is produced by volcanoes and in various industrial processes. Coal and petroleum often contain sulfur compounds and their combustion generates sulfur dioxide. Further, oxidation of SO2 usually in the presence of catalysts such as NO2 from H2SO4, that is an acid sulfuric acid, and then it causes acid rain also. This is one of the causes for concern over the environmental impact of the use of these fuels as power sources. Next is your nitrogen oxides, NOx. X could be NO2, NO3 or anything. Nitrogen oxide, particularly nitrogen dioxide, are expelled from high temperature combustion and are also produced during thunderstorms by electric discharge. They can be seen as brown haze dome above the plume downward of the cities. Nitrogen dioxide is a chemical compound with the formula NO2. It is one of the several nitrogen oxides, one of the most prominent air pollutants. This reddish brown toxic gas has a characteristic sharp biting odor also. Next is your carbon monoxide. It is colorless, odorless, toxic yet non-irritating gas. It is a product of combustion of fuel such as natural gas, coal or wood. Then vehicular exhaust contributes to the majority of carbon monoxide let into our atmosphere. It creates a smog type formation in the air that has been linked to many lung diseases also and disruptions to the natural environment and animals. In 2013, more than half of the carbon monoxide emitted into our atmosphere was from the vehicle traffic and burning of 1 gallon of gas. It will often emit over 20 pounds of carbon monoxide into the air. Then there are many volatile organic compounds also. We call them VOC. These VOCs are well known outdoor air pollutants. They are categorized as either methane, we write it as CH4, or non-methane. Methane is an extremely efficient greenhouse gas which contribute to enhanced global warming. Other hydrocarbon VOCs are also significant greenhouse gases because of their role in creating ozone and prolonging the life of methane in the atmosphere. Then there comes the particulate matter also. Particulate matter or particles, alternatively referred to as particulate matter, atmospheric particulate matter or fine particles. In contrast, aerosol refers to combined particles and gas. So some particulates occur naturally, originating from volcanoes, dust storms, forest, grassland fires, living vegetations and sea spray. Then there come your human activities such as burning of fossil fuels in vehicles. Power plants and various industrial processes also generate significant amounts of aerosols. Averaged worldwide anthropogenic aerosols, those made by human activities, currently account for approximately 10% of our atmosphere, and they ultimately cause asthma in many patients also. There are persistent free radicals in the environment, chlorofluorocarbons. They are harmful to the ozone layer. They are emitted from products currently banned from use. These are gases which are released from air conditioners, refrigerators, aerosol sprays, etc. On release into the air, CFCs rise to the stratosphere. Here they come in contact with the other gases and damage your ozone layer. Ozone layer, it protects us from the harmful UV rays. So ultimately the CFCs are damaging our ozone layer. This allows harmful ultraviolet rays to reach Earth's surface. This can lead to skin cancer, eye disease, can even cause damage to plants. Then your ammonia. It is emitted mainly by agricultural waste. Ammonia is a compound with the formula NH3. It is normally encountered as a gas with characteristic pungent odor. Ammonia contributes significantly to the nutritional needs of terrestrial organisms by serving as a precursor to foodstuffs and fertilizers. Then there are radioactive pollutants which are produced by nuclear explosions, nuclear events or war explosives, and natural processes such as radioactive decay of radon. So these are usually the primary pollutants. Secondary pollutants include your smog, ground level ozone, which is result of interaction of primary pollutants in the atmosphere. There are minor air pollutants which include a large number of minor hazardous air pollutants variety of persistent organic pollutants. Persistent organic pollutants, or they are known as POPs. Persistent organic pollutants are organic compounds that are resistant to environmental degradation through chemical, biological and photolytical processes, and because of this they have been observed to persist in the environment, to be capable of long range transport, bioaccumulation in human and animal tissue, and even the biomagnification and food chains takes place because of these POPs. Now coming to your indoor air quality. Indoor air quality is the air quality within and around the buildings and structures. IAQ, indoor air quality, it is known to affect the health, comfort and well-being of the building occupants. Poor indoor air quality has been linked to sick building syndrome, also reduced productivity and impaired learning in the schools. Now, IAQ can be affected by gases. These gases could be, we have discussed them almost, carbon monoxide, radon, volatile organic compounds. There could be particulates, microbial contaminants, for example, bacteria, molds, or any mass of energy stressor that can induce adverse health condition. Source control, filtration, and the use of ventilation to dilute contaminants are the primary methods for improving indoor air quality. Indoor air quality is part of indoor environmental quality also, which includes IAQ as well as other physical and psychological aspects of life indoors also. Therefore, indoor pollution in developing nation is a major health hazard. A major source of indoor air pollution in developing country is the burning of biomass. For example, people burn wood, charcoal, dung, cow dung or crop residue for heating and cooking. So the resulting exposure to the high levels of particulate matter resulted between 1.5 million to 2 million deaths in 2000. Then there's another term related to air pollution, that is smog. So smog is a type of severe air pollution. The word smog was coined in early 20th century as a blending of world smoke and fog. So SM is for the smoke and fog, OG is from the fog. So it is a blending of these two words. The word was then intended to refer to what was sometimes known as pea soup fog, a familiar and serious problem in Australia from 19th century to mid 20th century. Now this kind of visible air pollution is composed of nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, ozone, smoke and other particulates. And man-made smog is derived from coal combustion emissions, vehicular emissions, industrial emissions, forest and agricultural fires, and also your photochemical reactions of these emissions. Now smog is often categorized as being either summer smog or winter smog. Summer smog is primarily associated with photochemical formation of ozone during the summer season when the temperatures are warmer and there is more sunlight present. Photochemical smog is the dominant type of smog formation, and during the winter months when the temperatures are colder, the atmospheric inversions are common and there is an increase in coal and other fossil fuels usage to heat homes and buildings, which lead to your winter smog. Now next type of pollution is your light pollution. Light pollution is adding of carbon dioxide or added sound, etc. Adverse consequences are multiple, some of them may not be known yet. So just analogous to your carbon dioxide or sound which causes noise pollution, here light is the stimulator for the light pollution. Light is the cause itself. The degradation of photo habitat by artificial light, the alteration of natural light levels in the outdoor environment owing to artificial light, and then there are alteration of light levels in the outdoor environment also from those present naturally due to man-made sources of light. Indoor light pollution such as alteration of light levels in the indoor environment, and then the introduction of humans directly or indirectly of artificial light into the environment. So light pollution is known as photopollution. It is the presence of anthropogenic and artificial light in the night environment. It is exacerbated by excessive, misdirected or obtrusive uses of light, but even carefully used light fundamentally alters your natural condition. And It is a major side effect of urbanization, the city life. It is blamed for compromising health, disrupting ecosystem and spoiling aesthetic environments. See, this light pollution competes with starlight in the night. For the urban residents, it interferes with astronomical observatories also, like any other form of pollution. It disrupts ecosystem and has adverse health effects. So now there is type of light pollution also. There is light trespass. Light trespass occurs when an unwanted light enters one's property, for instance, by shining over a neighbor's fence. A common light trespass problems occurs when a strong light enters in the window of one's home from outside, causing problems such as sleep deprivation. A number of cities in the US have developed standards for outdoor lighting to protect the rights of their citizens against light trespass. Another example is your over-illumination, another type of light pollution. Over-illumination is the excessive use of light. Specifically, within the US, over-illumination is responsible for approximately 2 million barrels of oil per day in energy wasted. So this is how we are wasting our energy also. Now the reasons for over-illumination are many. For example, incorrect choice of fixtures of light bulbs, incomplete training of building managers and occupants to use lighting system efficiently, substitution of old lamps with more efficient LEDs using the same electrical power, indirect lighting techniques such as illuminating a vertical wall to bounce light onto the ground. So these are the reasons. Next type is glare. Glare can be categorized into different types. One such classification is also described in many papers. There is blinding glare. It describes effects such as that caused by staring into the sun. Then there is disability glare. Describes the effects such as being blinded by oncoming car lights or light scattering in fog. Then there is discomfort glare. Does not typically cause a dangerous situation in itself, though it is annoying and irritating at best. It can potentially cause fatigue if experienced over extended periods. Next is your light clutter. Light clutter refers to excessive groupings of lightings. Groupings of lightings may generate confusion, distract from obstacles. Clutter is particularly noticeable on roads where the street lights are badly designed or where brightly lit advertising surrounds the roadways also. So this is about light pollution. Now there's a new term called visual pollution. Visual pollution is an aesthetic issue and refers to the impacts of pollution that impair one's ability to enjoy a good view. Visual pollution disturbs the visual areas of people by creating harmful changes in the natural environment, and various steps by US and Brazil government have been taken to stop this visual pollution. So visual pollution disturbs the visual areas like billboards, open storage of trash, antennas, electric wires, buildings, automobiles, etc. And even an overcrowding of an area causes visual pollution. So these countries are outlining the use of all outdoor advertisements, including the billboards, transit and front of stores in many areas in their countries. Next is your noise pollution. Noise pollution is known as environmental noise or sound pollution. It is the propagation of noise with harmful impact on the activity of human or animal life. The source of outdoor noise worldwide is mainly caused by machines and transport. Then there is poor urban planning also, which may give rise to noise pollution. Side by side industrial and residential buildings also, which cause noise pollution. High noise levels can contribute to many diseases, for example cardiovascular effects in humans and an increased incidence of coronary artery disease also. In animals, noise can increase the risk of death by altering predator or prey detection and avoidance. So you should know the main sources of noise in residential areas: loud music, transportation, lawn care maintenance, nearby constructions, explosions, young people yelling, sports games. So all these things cause noise pollution. Next is your soil pollution. Soil contamination is also soil pollution. It is the land degradation that is caused by presence of xenobiotic. That means xenobiotic are human-made chemicals or other alteration in the natural soil environment. It is typically caused by industrial activity, agricultural chemicals and improper disposal of the wastes. Next is your water pollution. Water pollution is the contamination of water bodies, usually as a result of human activities. Water bodies include your lakes, rivers, oceans, aquifers, groundwater, though we will talk about groundwater pollution in different slide also. For example, releasing inadequately treated wastewater into natural water bodies can lead to degradation of aquatic ecosystems. Even water pollution can be grouped into surface pollution, marine surface water pollution, marine pollution, nutrient pollution, etc. And the causes of water pollution include wide range of chemicals and pathogens as well as physical parameters. Water pollution is measured by analyzing water samples. Physical, chemical and biological tests are then done, and then we are sure that water pollution is taking place. As I told you, we'll discuss about groundwater pollution because this is more dangerous. Even water pollution is, but this is affecting the health of humans directly. Groundwater pollution occurs when pollutants are released to the ground and make way down into the groundwater. So this type of water pollution can also occur naturally due to presence of minor and unwanted constituent, contaminant or impurity in the groundwater. So this kind of pollution can occur from on-site sanitation systems, landfills, wastewater treatment plants, leaking sewers, petrol filling stations or from over applications of fertilizers in agriculture. So there are different kind of pollutants which enter into our water system or groundwater system to cause water pollution or groundwater pollution. For example, arsenic and fluoride are there. They are also recognized by World Health Organization as the most serious inorganic contaminants in drinking water. Pathogens are there. The lack of proper sanitation measures as well as improperly placed wells can lead to drinking water contamination with pathogens carried in the urine and feces or in fecal matter. Such fecal oral transmitted diseases include cholera, diarrhea. Then nitrate. Nitrate is the most common chemical contaminant in the world's groundwater and aquifers. In some low-income countries, nitrate levels in groundwater are extremely high, causing significant health problems. Then there are organic compounds. Volatile organic compounds are dangerous contaminant of groundwater. They are generally introduced to the environment through careless industrial practices. There are metals. Several trace metals occur naturally in certain rock formation and can enter in the environment from natural processes such as weathering. However, industrial activities such as mining, metallurgy, solid waste disposal, paint and enamel work, etc. can lead to elevated concentration of toxic metals including lead, cadmium, chromium. So these contaminants have the potential to make their way into the groundwater. Then comes your pharmaceuticals. Trace amounts of pharmaceuticals from heated wastewater infiltrating into the aquifer are among emerging groundwater contaminants being studied throughout the world, especially in United States. Popular pharmaceuticals such as antibiotics, anti-inflammatories are normally found in treated wastewater. So this wastewater is discharged from treatment facility, often makes its way to the aquifer or source of surface water used for drinking water. That is how these pollutants are causing groundwater pollution. So then is marine pollution. Marine pollution occurs when harmful effects result from entry into the ocean of chemicals, particles, industrial, agricultural or residential waste. So air pollution is also contributing factor by carrying of pesticides or dirt into the ocean. So ultimately air pollution is also contributing towards marine pollution. Land and air pollution have proven to be harmful to marine life and its habitats also. When these pesticides are incorporated into this marine ecosystem, they quickly become absorbed into the marine food webs. Once in the food webs, these pesticides can cause mutations as well as diseases which can be harmful to humans as well as the entire food web. So these toxic metals can also be introduced into marine food webs. These can cause a change to tissue matter, biochemistry, behavior of the animals, or you can say the biodiversity present in the marine life. Then there's a term nutrient pollution. It is a form of water pollution only, which refers to contamination by excessive inputs of nutrients. It is primary cause of eutrophication of surface waters, where we lose the nutrients, in which excess nutrients, usually nitrogen and phosphorus, stimulate algal growth. So in eutrophication, we find excess nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, which leads to algal growth. So these excess nutrients have been summarized as potentially leading to population effects. As I told you, algal blooms, community effects, species composition shifts, ecological effects, food web changes, and there is light limitation. Then there is problem with the biogeochemical cycles also, biogeochemical effects. For example, excess organic carbon, dissolved oxygen deficits, toxin production starts taking place. Sources, as I told you, are nitrogen, use of synthetic fertilizers, burning of fossil fuels. Phosphorus pollution is caused by excessive use of fertilizers and manure. Then about land use, the principal source of nutrient pollution in an individual watershed depend upon the prevailing land uses, agriculture and animal production or crops. Urban, the storm water runoff, air pollution, etc. are responsible. Then thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is the degradation of water quality by any process that changes ambient water temperature. A common cause of thermal pollution is the use of water as coolant by power plants and industrial manufacturers. So other causes of thermal pollution include your soil erosion. Now talking in general, there are many effects of pollution on human health. Adverse air quality can kill many organisms including human. Ozone pollution can cause respiratory diseases, your cardiovascular diseases, throat inflammation, chest pain, congestion, etc. Then there is impact on the environment also. Biomagnification describes situations where toxins or heavy metals may pass through trophic levels, becoming exponential, more concentrated in the process. Carbon dioxide emissions cause ocean acidification, the ongoing decrease in the pH of the Earth's ocean as carbon dioxide becomes dissolved. The emissions of greenhouse gases leads to global warming, which affects ecosystem in many ways. Invasive species can outcompete native species and reduce biodiversity. Invasive plants can contribute debris and biomolecules. Nitrogen oxides are removed from the air by rain and fertilized land, which can change the species composition of ecosystem. There is smog, and haze can reduce the amount of sunlight received by plants to carry out photosynthesis and leads to production of tropospheric ozone. Then sulfur dioxide is there. Soil can become infertile. Sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides can cause acid rain also, which lowers the pH value of soil. Organic pollution of water courses can deplete your oxygen levels and reduce species diversity also. Lot of health effects of air pollution and other kind of pollutions are there. For example, mortality. The World Health Organization estimated in 2014 that every year air pollution causes the premature deaths of 7 million people worldwide. Cardiovascular diseases are there. A 2007 review of evidence found ambient air pollution exposure is a risk of factor correlating with increased total mortality from your cardiovascular diseases. Those are your heart diseases, lung diseases. Researchers have demonstrated increased risk of developing asthma and COPD from increased exposure to traffic-related air pollution. Cancer, lung cancer can be caused. A review of evidence regarding whether ambient air pollution exposure is a risk for cancer in 2007 found solid data to conclude that long-term exposure to fine particulates increased the overall risk of non-accidental mortality by 6%. Then about children, even in the US, despite the passage of Clean Air Act in 1970, in 2002, at least 146 million Americans were living in non-attainment areas. Even the infants and children are affected with poor health because of these things. Then there is disruption of ecosystems due to light pollution also. When artificial light affects organisms and ecosystem, it is called ecological light pollution. Now, how they affect the ecosystem? For example, some species of spiders avoid lit areas, while other species are happy to build their spider web directly on a lamp post. Since lamp posts attract many flying insects, the spiders that don't mind light gain an advantage over the spiders that avoid it. This is a simple example of way in which species frequencies and food webs can be disturbed by the introduction of light at night. There is another example of sea turtles. Hatchlings emerging from nest on beaches and another casualty of light pollution. So it is common misconception that hatchling sea turtles are attracted to the moon. Rather, they find the ocean by moving away from the dark silhouette of dunes and their vegetation, a behavior with which artificial lights interfere. So they are affecting the hatchlings, these sea turtles. Then there is impact of noise pollution on the wildlife also. Noise can have detrimental effect on the animals. These effects then may alter more interactions within a community through indirect effects, which are known as dominoes effect. Acoustic exposure can lead to temporary or permanent loss of hearing also. For example, European robins living in urban environments are more likely to sing at night in places with high levels of noise pollution during the day, suggesting that they sing at night because it is quieter and their message can propagate through the environment more clearly. Then zebra finches become less faithful to their partners when exposed to traffic noise. This could alter a population's evolutionary trajectory by selecting traits, sapping resources normally devoted to other activities, and thus leading to profound genetic and evolutionary consequences also. So there are ecological effects due to thermal pollution. Warm water effects have been seen. Elevated temperature typically decreases the level of dissolved oxygen and of water, as gases are less soluble in hotter liquids. So this can harm the aquatic animals, for example fish, amphibians and other aquatic organisms. Cold water and thermal shocks are disrupting the ecological niche of such animals also. For example, in thermal shock, when a power plant first opens or shuts down for repair or other causes, fish and other organisms adapted to particular temperature range can be killed by the abrupt change in water temperature, either an increase or decrease known as thermal shock. So therefore, we can talk about pollution control. Pollution control is a term used in environmental management. It means control of emissions and effluents into air, water or soil. Without pollution control, the waste products from overconsumption, heating, agricultural, mining, manufacturing, etc. or other human activities, whether they accumulate or disperse, will degrade the environment. So in the hierarchy of controls, pollution prevention and waste minimization are more desirable than pollution control. In the field of land development and low impact development, it is a similar technique for the prevention of urban runoff also. So obviously rules and regulations are necessary. Individual and community efforts to control pollutions are necessary. Rest you can tell me in comment box how we can reduce pollution. But anyway, in the last lecture of this series in the mitigation and conservation, we will talk about various steps. This is all about today. Thank you.